So in this video, I'm going to show you how to make lacto-fermented dill pickles. Now those are the typical pickles that you're used to. They not only taste great, but they are fermented foods, so they have huge health benefits, in particular that of good bacteria or probiotics. Now you'll see a lot of different recipes on the internet where they boil the water with vinegar and pour it into the jar and it's ready in a day or two. I'm not crazy about those methods because they don't have the health benefits. Essentially the benefit is a boiled cucumber, whereas these, it's the opposite because it's actually enhanced the nutrients in the cucumber and the other things in there by fermenting it and adding the good bacteria, as I mentioned. This is super simple to do. All you need is cucumbers, dill, garlic, sea salt, and pure water. That's it. And we're going to put those in a jar together and ferment it for between a week and 3 weeks, depending on the temperature where you're at. Now, the best cucumbers you can use for this are called Kirby cucumbers. But if you can't find these, because they're sometimes hard to get, you could use any cucumber. And you want to use organic whenever possible, especially with this, is because we're trying to ferment them and make good bacteria. So if there's pesticides or herbicides or anything like that, it's going to put a hindrance on making the bacteria in there. So with 2 quarts of water, you're going to need the 2 quarts, and you're going to have to use pure or filtered water. And the reason why is because tap water has chlorine in it, and that's going to kill any good bacteria that we want growing in there. So along with the 2 quarts of water, you're going to need 5 tablespoons of sea salt, a couple of heads of dill, about 6 cloves of garlic, 6 to 9, and about 10 bay leaves. And the reason you use bay leaves or grape leaves, and you could even use black tea, because they have tannin in it. And what the tannin does is it stops the pickles from becoming soft, so they're going to be crunchy the way you like them. So let's get started, and we're going to get started by making the brine. And you do that with sea salt and water. You do that with 2 quarts of filtered water, 5 tablespoons of sea salt, and mix that well and allow it to cool at room temperature. Add a couple of bay leaves or grape leaves to the empty jar to start. 6 to 9 cloves of peeled garlic. A little cooking tip with the garlic is if you put them in a bowl, plate on top, and shake them up, the skin will come off. So it's a super simple way to get that off. Next thing we're going to do is prepare the pickle. Now the only thing you need to do for this is cut the blossom or the end off, because this has an enzyme in it that will actually soften the pickle and we want them crunchy. You can either put them in whole or you can cut them in halves or spears. I'm going to put them in whole because that's the way I like them, and it's simple and easy. Spices for taste. You can use so many different ones, and I'll have more at the blog at theartofunity.com. You could use black peppercorns, red pepper flakes, cumin, mustard seeds, and horseradish as we're using here. The easiest would be pickling spice and 2 fresh heads of dill, all organic. Then repeat a layer of the leaves with garlic and the spices. Add another tightly packed layer of cucumbers on top of that. Top them off with more garlic and spices. Now pour the brine over the pickles, leaving about 1 to 1.5 inches of headspace. Place more leaves on top. Then you're going to want to weigh the cucumbers down to be sure that they stay below the surface of the water. After everything is in there, tap or shake the jar to make sure you get all the air bubbles out of there so that won't get any mold inside. Tightly cap the jar. Now you know the pickles are getting ready when they start clouding. When the water becomes really cloudy after a week or 2 weeks, depending on the temperature that you're in, you can taste them. If they're to your liking, then that's all you need to ferment. And you could just put them in the refrigerator with the brine in it, and they're going to last for months, for a really long time. But it's all based on your taste. I usually go 2 weeks to 3 weeks. In the summer, a little bit less, because if it's warmer, then they're going to ferment quicker, although below 80 degrees is more of an ideal temperature, anywhere between 68 and 80 degrees. After fermenting for a few weeks, there will be some mold on top, but you can remove that with a spoon if it's in the brine, or a paper towel if it's on the jar. Don't worry, it won't affect the pickles since they're below the water fermenting anaerobically. A little trick to get any mold off the top when they're done is to put it in the sink and pour pure water over the top, overflowing any mold out of the jar. Now, you don't have to make these in such a big jar. You can make them in smaller mason jars. And if you do that, it's very important not to put the lid on fully tight when they're fermenting, because the fermentation process produces carbon dioxide and it could actually explode the jar or push the top open. So not only should you put this on loose, but you should burp it every day or two to make sure there's not an overabundance of carbon dioxide in there. Same with these. This jar actually has a seal, so I have to open it every day or two. And also, you can make this with many different types of vegetables, including carrots, cauliflower, and many other things. And I'll have more ideas and recipes on the blog at theartofunity.com. But the fermentation process will take, as mentioned, between 1 and 4 weeks, depending on your temperature. Ideal is between 68 and 80 degrees. And I hope this works well for you. Good luck.